High Dram, warrior prime and consort, called by some Widowmaker, though never to his face. At her command, loyal subjects, like Captain Silence and Investigator Frost of the starship Dauntless. At her feet, the families jostled and conspired to win her favor, and hunted down her enemies without mercy. Lionstone had strengths and surprises of her own, and would not easily be brought down. And watching from the sidelines, waiting to see which way the wind might blow, many who might be swayed one way or the other. Valentine, head of Clan Wolf, favored and powerful, a dandy and drug user of legendary proportions. Kit Summerisle, head of his clan, called by some Kid Death, the Smiling Killer. Cardinal James Cassar, fanatic and rising star of the Church of Christ the Warrior. In the shadows, the Clone and Esper Underground fought their losing battles and dared to dream of freedom. They had allies in the Cyberrats, computer hackers and non-people by choice, and also in restless younger sons who knew they would never inherit the family name and riches. And just occasionally a hero would come to them, such as Finley Campbell, once known as the Masked Gladiator, unconquered champion of the arena, and Mater Mundi, our mother of all souls, uber esper and unfathomable mystery, powerful beyond hope or sanity. All the players were in place. The stage was set. All that was necessary now was for someone to strike the first blow. Owen Deathstalker, that reluctant hero, headed for Golgotha in the company of Hazel Dark on a strange golden ship run by augmented men once known as the enemies of humanity. And though posterity has no access to his thoughts, they were probably, "Why me?" Chapter 1. Golgotha. Opening Gambit. "Why me?" thought Owen Deathstalker as he headed for the toilet yet again. He knew he wouldn't really need to do anything once he got there, but his bladder wasn't listening to reason. Not for the first time, it had ideas of its own. He was always like this when the pressure was on and he had too much time to think. The afternoon before, he'd made his first major speech at the Imperial Historians' Convention. He'd spent so long in their toilets that they actually sent someone in to ask if he was all right. Owen sniffed, stepped inside the starship's single toilet, and pulled the door shut behind him. It wasn't much, just a small steel cubicle with a gleaming steel bowl. Owen unzipped and aimed carefully. He didn't want the others to think he was incredibly nervous. It was the waiting that got to him. He was hardly nervous at all during a fight. Usually because he was too busy trying to keep himself from being killed to have time to worry. But beforehand, his imagination always insisted on picturing all the ways things could go horribly wrong in a hurry. And his current mission of heading for Golgotha, the most closely guarded planet in the Empire, in a golden ship built by inhuman beings who were once officially known as the enemies of humanity, had never struck him as being that sane an idea in the first place, even if it had been his idea. But it had to be said, the Hayden Man ship was the best choice open to the nascent rebellion. His own ship, the marvelous Sunstrider, had been one of the fastest in the Empire, but he'd had to leave it where it crashed, deep in the deadly jungles of Chandrakor. And his ancestor Giles's vessel, the last standing, had been ruled out very early on. A huge stone castle with a built-in star drive was many things, but inconspicuous wasn't one of them. The sleek golden ships of the Hayden men, however, were everything the rebels needed and more. Incredibly fast, powerfully armed, and so tightly cloaked there wasn't a sensor display in the Empire sensitive enough to pick them up. In theory, anyway. The Hayden men had been out of things for a while. The one thing the starship hadn't had was a toilet. apparently augmented.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.